I can't believe I'm right here.
Can you guys hear this?
Yes, I
can hear you. Is this one better? Yeah. That one's better?
Go for it.
Well, thank you for coming out here in the cold today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. We love our children.
Amen.
As we want freedom.
Yes.
We want our constitutional rights.
Amen.
We do not want a government that is going to come in and forcibly perform a medical procedure on you or your children without your permission.
Yep.
Where did our political leaders get the idea that that was okay?
It's not.
Did they not take civics lessons in high school?
Right?
Do they know that we signed treaties that said you're not supposed to, that governments are not allowed to perform medical procedures forcibly on citizens without informed consent? One of the points that I made to some of the legislatures that I talked to today and this week was that all four of the companies that make all 72 of the vaccines, that they are now about, that they want to mandate against our wills, against our religious beliefs, to our children, that every one of those companies is a convicted felon.
Amen.
Not only are they a convicted felon, but they are repeat felons.
Yes, they
Not
are.
just repeat felons, they are serial felons. This is their business plan, is to commit felonies. Those four companies, since 2009, in 10 years, have paid $35 billion in penalties, in fines, in damages, for falsifying science, for defrauding regulators, for killing hundreds of thousands of Americans with drugs that they marketed as safe and that they were lying about. Merck, which has headquarters in this state, with Vioxx, which was its blockbuster drug, killed 500,000 Americans. This is a drug that Merck marketed as a headache pill when they knew that it caused heart attacks. They knew that from their clinical data. They knew, and they discussed it internally, that they were going to kill hundreds of thousands of Americans with this drug. But they said to themselves, it's okay, because even if they sue us, we will still make more money by selling this drug. They made that calculation. Now, what does it take? What kind of cognitive dissonance does it require for us to believe, and for these lawmakers who are supposed to be protecting the public interest, who are supposed to be protecting our children's health, what kind of cognitive dissonance does it require for them to believe that this same company, which makes most of the vaccines in America, is lying about every other medical product and every other pharmaceutical drug that they make, but they found Jesus when it comes to vaccines. They said somewhere in Merck's headquarters, they said, well, you know, it's okay to lie about everything else. It's okay to kill people. It's okay to falsify science. Oh, we don't want to do that with vaccines. That would be wrong. So we're not going to do it. Do you think, how many of you raise your hand if you think that conversation ever took place in Merck's headquarters?
Never.
So, and by the way, this is the one medical product that they could never get caught because there are no lawsuits. They have complete immunity. No matter if they did get caught, there would be no consequences. As the federal government, the Congress, rolling in pharmaceutical money, gave them immunity from liability. So no matter how negligent their behavior, no matter how toxic their line or how sloppy their line protocols, no matter how toxic the ingredients of the vaccine, no matter how grievous the injury to your child, they cannot be sued. So there are no mass torts litigation, there are no class action lawsuits, there is no discovery, there is no depositions, and all of those $35 billion that those four companies paid, in every case, the reason why they were criminally prosecuted is because a private plaintiff's attorney representing an injured client who was injured by that company's drug conducted discovery, found incriminating documents that showed criminal behavior, and took those documents and walked them down to the U.S. Attorney's office and said to the U.S. Attorney, you ought to prosecute them for this. The only place that could never happen is with vaccines, because you can't sue them. So there'll never be a lawsuit. So these companies have zero incentive to make their product safe. And by the way, sorry. If you can't hear me, raise your hand. By the way, these same products. Oh, doing this?
You're good.
By the way, these companies, they're zero liability, and everybody knows that. But what most people and what the legislatures who I've been talking to today didn't understand at all is they also have immunity from ever having to safety test these products.
Oh, despicable.
And that is an artifact of CDC's legacy as the Public Health Service, which is a quasi-military agency. It used to be called the Public Health Services. And that's why people at CDC have military ranks, like Surgeon General. But the vaccine program was launched as a national security defense against biological attacks on our country. So the regulators and the military wanted to make sure that if the Russians attacked us with anthrax or some other biological agent, we would be able to develop and manufacture and deploy a vaccine very, very quickly and get it out to 200 million Americans without regulatory impediments. So they said, if we have to safety test it, that takes 5 years. We'll never be able to do it, so we have to figure out how are we going to get around that. If we call it a medicine, it has to be safety tested. So instead, we're going to call it a biologic. And that way, it will be immune. So in 1986, when the Vaccine Act was passed, suddenly vaccines became very, very lucrative. And these four companies sat back and said, holy cow, now we've got a product that the federal government is going to require 78 million people to buy, mandatory, so there's no advertising cost. There's no marketing cost. And the biggest cost of marketing a drug is the liability. People, every drug injures somebody. We're all different. Every drug injures somebody, and they have to pay for every drug. They have to pay for those injuries. They say, and that's the biggest cost of drug production. They said, here we have zero liability, and we don't have to test it, We don't have liability. We don't have to pay for marketing and advertising. This is just a dream come true. Or, as Paul often said, it's like winning the lottery. And so if you can get a drug on that CDC schedule, it's worth a minimum of about $1 billion a year in profit to your company. So there was a gold rush, and those companies took advantage of the fact that these products do not have to be tested. And the result is that we have now untested drugs that are mandated for our kids, and what did we see? We saw a chronic disease epidemic that has made this generation of children the sickest generation in American history.
That's right.
We have the most aggressive vaccine schedule of any country in the world, and has it given us the healthiest children? No. It has given us the sickest children. It's given us the highest infant mortality rate, the highest mortality rates in the first year of life, the highest mortality rates in the second year of life of any industrialized nation in the world. We're behind countries like Costa Rica. Have the vaccines made us healthier? No. So now we have a generation of children. If you were born prior to 1989, which is when the big vaccine explosion took place, according to HHS, your chance of having a chronic disease is 12.8%. If you were born after the new vaccine schedule, if you're part of the vaccine generation, your chance of having a chronic disease, according to HHS, is 54%. And by the way, those are the kids that have actually gotten insurance for those injuries. But there's a whole lot of invisible injuries that are not recorded in that data. And what I would tell you is this, that you cannot inject a little baby or a pregnant mother with aluminum or mercury without doing damage. Every child is damaged. It's not just those 54%. Any child who gets injected with those metals is going to be injured. And we have seen a drop. There's something called the Flynn effect. The Flynn effect, and you can look it up on your cell phone on Google, which is a vaccine company, by the way. But the Flynn effect says that since 1900, every 10 years, the IQ of American children has raised by 3 points. So, what your kids have been saying to you is true. They are smarter than we are. But that changed with this vaccine generation. This generation has lost 7 points in IQ. And we don't know why that is, but that would be consistent with what you would predict would happen if you inject the entire population of children with the most potent neurotoxin known to humanity, mercury, and one of the other most potent ones, aluminum, on the day they're born and when their mother is pregnant, which we're now doing with the flu shots. So all of these kids are injured, and we've seen an explosion of these categories of diseases, the neurodevelopmental diseases, ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, narcolepsy, things that I never heard of when I was a kid. But everybody knows what they are now, don't they?
Yes.
Because we see them in every classroom. ASD and autism. And then we see the autoimmune disease, like diabetes. And I was a young boy. First of all, I have 11 brothers and sisters. I have over 70 cousins. I never knew anybody with a peanut allergy. Why do all my children, I have 7 kids, why do the majority of them have food allergies or other serious anaphylactic allergies? Where did that come from? Why, you know, if CDC, if there's 400 measles cases or 700 measles cases, CDC, the Center for Disease Control, they will put 1,200 forensic pathologists and virologists in moon suits, send them out all over the world to turn over rocks to discover the precise etiology of that contagion. As for 700 measles cases, what about the 80,000 new autism diagnoses
That's right.
in this country every year? Why have you not done a study of the largest database of American children that exists, which is the vaccine safety data link? There's 10 million medical records in there, including the vaccine records down to batch of all those kids and every claim of injury by those children. So it's very easy to go through that data and answer all the questions about the associations between vaccinations and particular vaccinations or particular combinations of vaccinations and these injuries. So they said, let's do it in 1999. And by the time that study was completed in 2003, the data were clear. And what the data showed, this was shocking to them, if a child got the hepatitis B vaccine within the first 30 days of life, this is CDC's own data and own study, that child had an 1,135% greater chance of having autism than a child who did not. That's just one vaccine.
Oh my
And by the way, just for comparison, that's called an 11.35 relative risk. The relative risk of smoking cigarettes for 1 pack a day for 20 years and getting lung cancer is 10. The chance of getting autism after getting a hepatitis B vaccine is 11.35. A relative risk of 2 is considered proof of causation.
Yep.
We had 11.35. When CDC read that, they knew what was causing the epidemic. And they had a big secret meeting in Simpsonwood with 52 people, including all the vaccine makers, WHO, all of the vaccine branch people from all the different agencies. For 2 days they met. The first day they talk about how certain the science is and how bulletproof it is. The second day they talk about how to hide it from the American people.
Oh my God.
It is criminal. And these people ought to be in jail. And they ought to be in jail forever. And the chronic disease epidemic, the autoimmune diseases, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Guillain-Barré, demyelating diseases, and then the allergic diseases like food allergies, asthma, eczema, all these things that we know about. All of them began in 1989 and became epidemics. And there's about 300 diseases on that list. And there's 2 places where all 300 of those diseases are listed. One, the list of diseases that suddenly became epidemic, chronic diseases, in 1989. The other list they're on is the vaccine inserts listed as side effects by the own manufacturers of those vaccines.
Yeah.
Every one of those diseases. And guess what? Those companies the 20 top drugs that are sold by those 4 companies that are not vaccines, every one of those drugs is targeted to treat a chronic disease that is listed as a vaccine side effect on their own
Yep.
vaccine insert. So these companies are making $50 billion a year selling vaccines to our children, and another $500 billion a year selling the EpiPens, the Adderall, the albuterol inhaler,
Yep.
the Advair, the anti-seizure medication, the diabetes medication, and all the other treatments of the chronic diseases. So to them, they look at measles, they say there's no money in measles. Because what's the cure? Vitamin A and chicken soup.
That's right. That's
You can't
right.
have either one of them.
Yep.
And worst of all, they're gone in a week.
Yep.
In fact, it's a misnomer to call it a disease. It's a rash.
Yep.
Chickenpox is a rash.
Thank you.
A disease is autism. A disease is Guillain-Barré when you're paralyzed
Yeah.
for life.
Yep.
A disease is tachycardia, which my client has, who got a Gardasil vaccine, and they're definitely not working for our children. And you being here today is the way that we finish that we make sure that they start working for us. And you guys are heroes because this state, this is known as the medicine cabinet state. This is the headquarters of all those companies. They own these people in the state legislature in New Jersey. And guess what? You beat them here. You beat them in December when they first came out, and now they're coming back and they're trying to do it again.
Yeah.
And we're going to beat them this week.
That's right.
They rolled over us in New York. They rolled over us in California. They rolled over in Mississippi. They rolled over us in West Virginia. They're trying to do it in 50 states. But now we drew the line in New Jersey.
That's
and we're
right.
fully in that line. Let's fight for our liberty, for justice, for fairness, for our constitutional rights, for the things we believe in that we ought to. That it's my body, not my choice. Let's remember that. And the power of the government ends at my skin, my baby's skin. Nobody can puncture it. Nobody
That's
can
right.
penetrate it against my will. And let's remember, we need to start listening to women.
We need our men.
Thank you all very much. I-